writing and recording is part of the same thing generally, and that is, I'd have to say it edges out even live a little bit, just because I drink, I smoke pot, we party by the end of the day, and it's a fun way to work. To get to work at maybe 10, 30, or 11 in the morning, and get the mechanical stuff out of the way. Like, it needs an ethereal, ambient environment. It needs another sonic environment, and I think it needs like kind of shimmery clouds, slightly oppressive. Let's noodle that out, and then tweak on sounds and maybe plug in different instruments, and just the mechanics of the thing. It needs more structure. It needs a simpler structure. We got to get rid of some things. There's just too many instruments, and that is it. And I need to come up with another. I just want this vocal thing here that explodes. Okay, so you do that and you get the stuff done. We're gonna re-mic the kick drum, and we're gonna run it through Pete's Fender Twin reverb amp. By noon, by like 2, you're hungry. It's time for lunch. You've worked for three hours, and so you have a little lunch, and then maybe smoke pot. Right, so now you get back and you listen to what you've done, and you're like, that kick drum is way too loud, and it's really aggro, and it's bumming me out. And then you start writing those lyrics that come out to fill in the stuff that you haven't, that were part of the initial inspiration that led you to laying down the chords and the drum machine and the acoustic guitar, and just the vocal 2 or 3 things that you have that mean something, and are the thought and the feeling. What ballpark are we in here at all? This is, something about her, or there's something about, politics or whatever that. So this is the part of the writing is recording. And then, you get the stoner, dreamy afternoon stuff done, and that's a little more creative. And then you go out to dinner, and then you have nice wine with dinner. And now you're stoned and drunk when you get back. You've probably, if you went to a restaurant that you frequent a lot to get something to eat in the neighborhood, you probably will bring a couple of people back from the bar there. And so now you have a social time. You're really trying to mix. Now you want to make it sound impressive. And that's very important to me, in that I've realized that something has to sound cool. It just has to sound cool. Like, these guys are cool, these chicks are cool, whatever, this band is cool. The sounds that come in before the person starts even singing, I have to feel that they're cool. And that means they probably look pretty cool. They probably say some pretty cool things. They probably are self-aware on a level that I would think is impressive and a joy to chat with and deal with and navigate their idiosyncratic things that I maybe don't like about that person, because everyone has them. And then the vocals come in, but I'm already in a position where I've opened my heart to them, because the guitar sounded cool, the bass is sitting in the right place, the drums are the groove, everything's working. It just sounds cool. Love and Rockets, tones on tail, it's like, it just sounds cool. And then the vocals come in and you're like, God, that guy's cool. I love this. This is so good. I just love this. I'm hitting the dance floor right now, or whatever. That other stuff comes at the night end of it. Then you go to sleep. At some point you do go to sleep. And then you get up and you're hungover and you're really sensitive. And you go in and see what the party monster hath wrought. And you get in there and you listen to it at, maybe not 10:30 or 11, maybe like 12. And sometimes, hallelujah, you show up and it's like, you lay on the sofa and go, just play it. And it's like, fuck, this is salvation. This is absolute redemption. This is exactly what I need right now. Print it. It's fucking perfect. And sometimes, most likely, actually, you sit there and you go, that hi-hat, what the fuck? How did we ever think that was cool? That's terrible. Fuck, that is bumming the whole mix out. Turn it down. Thin it out. Thin it out more. Turn it down. It sucks so bad it can't be quiet enough. If you muted it, I'd still hate it. So there's those things, that guitar, no, we're redoing it. And then you set about getting to work and doing the mechanics again,
So you enjoy the mechanics.
And you switch on. You gotta enjoy all. I don't enjoy the mechanics that much. I like doing drugs and drinking and like getting my hands in it, in the mud and the clay and this and yeah. And that's the glorious part, is just to me, the mixing. Like Pete, he loves producing. He loves noodling and producing, and he thoroughly enjoys the mechanics of the thing and just the right. That's he can do that forever and not eat. I like I love. He hates mixing. It never ends. It just never ends. Like, yeah, that's great. That's what's great about it.
You're like the initial birthing of the songs, essentially.
Well, the acoustic guitar, 4 lines, and that. Then in the best of all situations, Pete takes over. Fathead takes over, and they layer the stuff in. Then Zia comes in, puts the support element in, and some and all some more sonic environmental things, space noises or whatever. And then I come in, get the vocals done, banged out in the morning in a fragile state. And then by that night, it's full on. I'm high as a kite, and I feel fucking great. And I'm just the artist. Throwing paint everywhere. So gratifying. That's my creative. Yeah, fuck, I love it. And then live gigs are this whole other thing, but that's a weird electric balancing, juggling, communal oming act of either great like transportive sort of magic, or a lot of times scrambling or digging in harder on the guitar and laying the groove back slower, leaning it forward, singing harder, Lord, breath, balance, and everyone's kind of doing it at the same time to try out where the groove's supposed to sit, how the mix is supposed to be, and then it locks in, and then that, if you can keep it there, that's what I'm supposed to sing in my throat, given what the PA sounds like tonight, given what I feel like today, what the band feels like. Whatever that is, it's that magic thing. And then we get it, and it's like stasis. Just everything's synergetic, and all the chords are gone. It's emotional, and oh my gosh, and again, transportive. Well, I think that's basically all there is. That's my whole musical life. Those 2 things, that's it. It's all it's ever been since I was a kid. I've been playing in punk clubs since I was 15. And been playing places pretty much exactly like where we were playing today. Since I was 15 years old. So, a lot of backstages, a lot of sticky floors, a lot of cigarettes. Harvesting my regrets. At the end of the day, 9 out of 10 times, it's just, and then it's not, after a couple days or a week, it's not their fault, it's my fucking fault. And I still can't get it out of my head, and and I lay there and the hand goes around on the tiny guitar that sits next to the sofa, and it goes around, and then it comes out. What the fuck was that? G, G to G7 to A minor to D, back to G. With the and the words and the blah, 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 and it comes out, and yeah, boy, I think I saw an interview with Bob Dylan where he was saying when you get that, when you're in there, get it all out, and then get out, or you're gonna start writing stupid shit, and you're gonna start trying. Get in and make it happen, and then get out. So that's scrambling for the phone and trying to record. I'm like, yeah, you and I, and you, and then I, and then you, and blah blah blah, and there it is. And then you can take that down to the basement studio, start layering a little more, get a drum machine down, get some basic tones that make it obvious to kind of like, to any person, like, no, that's real music, that's great. And then you load that into get 4 or 5, 6 of those, then it's time to take them down to the band studio, load them into that computer, and then they're sitting there and just send everyone an email like, hey man, there's one called 9, and there's one called More Than Purple, a little less aqua, or whatever, and then, okay, just check them out, see this one, and then if you're lucky, Zia comes back, a week later and goes, hey, what are the chords to less than a little less aqua, or whatever, you're like, oh, okay, she likes that one, G7, A minor, D, whatever, and
So
yeah,
lyrics kind of come.
that's how they start, and then I don't know. The other part is, then you gotta finish them, and I've been able to write with Brent. I've never written with anyone before because it was always a bedroom alone 3 a.m. thing for me since I was 15, recording myself in my bedroom, and I was always a drummer, so no one ever heard my songs. It was a completely self-centered need for a certain thing to happen before I could go to sleep, like sort of a summation and some sort of redemption from whatever stupid thing I had done that night or that day or the day before or whatever. So I certainly wasn't in a position where I could write with somebody. Like, you get out of my soul, it's just creepy. But for some reason, it's become more of a mechanical thing where Brent and I can really get around to what we're trying to say. And so while we're in the studio working, in the stoner afternoon, the dreamy day hours, we've been able to bash out some really cool lyrics and more poetic lyrics. Now there's a fog ere the sun did rise, I wander every day ghost. Like, I would never be able to come out that by myself, ever. That would never come out of me. That's just a me and Fathead, like pushing, try this word here, this, and then finally I just went, oh my God, just wrote it down. Fits, it's one of the later lines in Forever. Whew, that's a good one. When noodling on it more in the studio makes it less cool less of the time. You go back a few mixes back, and then you go, you guys, that is the one, I'm sorry. Everyone goes, okay, and then they try to add one more thing. Maybe sometimes it does work though, but generally, no. You go back. When you go back, you find it, maybe it's the penultimate mix or the penultimate or whatever the 2 before is, but when you've gone too far and it's over. Go back, there it is. And that's because we're a band who always owned our own studio. We never went into a studio to make a record. We've been continually recording for 25 years. We learned in the first couple years how to go back, how to not work it too far. So when the digital age came, There was a real learning curve, a real psychological learning curve for most people who wanted to do this, and that they just couldn't handle having eternal amounts of tape, and a genius with a razor blade to edit that shit and move it around. Just they could endlessly. But I think now it's most musicians have grown up the way I did, with multi-track recording in their bedroom as a child, as a kid, as a 10, 12 years old. You're in there multi-tracking. So I used to be way better than anybody else. I've never met producers that were even remotely as good as I was. If they were huge. I would never meet them. They were the biggest producers in the world. And now it seems like everybody's as good as I am. I really have to work a lot harder on the songwriting end of it, I think, and the lyrical end, obviously, just to make records that are like better than other people's records. It used to just be fucking easy, man. I was just better than everyone. Not anymore. Well, I think that it's self-defining. Just one that every time you listen to it, it's fucking great. Every time you look at it, it blows your mind. It takes you somewhere every time and time again, for as long as it is there. It's fun because Zia didn't hear a lot of music that Peter and I heard, so we get to show her the Bolshoi Away, for example. That's a timeless piece of music. It is still awesome. She DJs it, there's just great art. We watch The Godfather. It's always awesome. It's never not awesome. So, that's all it, timeless. It's just always awesome, no matter what time you listen to it. Most art is reflective of the idiosyncrasies of its era, and I use the term loosely when I say art. And that's, so to defy your era is to try to be timeless in the first place. And that's certainly something that Dandy's really we always make a big stink about. It's like, no, that sounds like, at one point you did not want to sound like the Strokes or Jack White. Two of my favorite bands of all time, the White Stripes and Strokes. But fuck no, nope, it's too Strokesy. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's Jack White. It's just like, how can you not be embarrassed to sound like Jack White? You and a million other bands, and you'll never be as good as he is. You're just derivative. So we always struggle to do that. And I saw a quote by Herman Porsche, maybe his name was Herman Porsche, that he said, in the styling of my cars, I seek primarily to supersede the idiosyncrasies of my era, and something like to that effect. And boy, that just blew my mind. I was like, me too, man. Cool. Yeah, that's what we always did. And you're asking for trouble in when you're on Capitol Records and you're trying to do that. Can you just make something like everybody else on radio? And no, I don't know that I could actually technically make a Strokes song, or whatever. But if I could, I still wouldn't do it. At least not until years later, when they're long gone, and they just do reunion tours every 3 years. So you can be a Strokesy band now. I might just do it. I might just make a Strokesy song. I've been dying to make a Jack White song for 20 years or whatever, so I'll probably do one of those too, finally.